Hello and welcome to the Tifo Football Podcast. I'm Joe Devine, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Jon Mackenzie.
Hello.
Also, in the human flesh, it's Seb Stafford-Bloor.
Hello, Joe.
We're joined by Liam Twomey.
Hello.
He's The Athletic's Chelsea reporter, and also Steve Hankey's here.
Hello.
That's it. So, what did we discuss today? Well, let me tell you. We start with Arsenal's narrow victory, right, Steve, against Chelsea, secured, of course, by more set pieces, which we discuss. Chelsea's 9th red card helped ease Arsenal on to victory. So we talk about Chelsea's discipline. Why are they blotting their copybook so much this season, right, Steve? We discuss. We also talk about corners. Is it just really boring now? Does it have to stop? Well, there's mixed opinion in the room. The phrase meat shield is used. I enjoyed that greatly. And I am blinded by my animus towards Mikel Merino. Steve wrote that, but it's fair. I do have animus towards Mikel Merino. Peacocks are mentioned and how you must be wary of them. Look out for that. And then we play the rondo. Well, actually, we played 2 rondos. One of them was an abject failure, though, so you won't be hearing that one. Not for Seb. You did quite well in that one.
It was an abject failure with a great deal of success.
Yes, a great story at the centre of an abject failure.
Underdog tale.
There it is. That's right. After the break, Seb and Jon go completely rogue. That is true. There were mentions of video games, living in the medieval times, and basically whatever they wanted. Apparently, I lost control of the room. This makes myself and Steve very nervous. So, what do we do, Steve? We moved on to Arsenal's nerves in the title race and how it's affecting their performances. We also touch on the Champions League brackets as they came out late last week. And to ramp up the nerves even further, we talk about Tottenham's chances of relegation. Have they increased even further after the weekend? And then we play points are bad. And that's the whole show. This episode's sort of like an Arsenal fan's dream episode, isn't it? Apart from the bit in the middle where I on Mikel Merino, everything else, you would imagine Arsenal fan would love it. You know, not only do we talk about how good their team are, we then talk about the chances of Spurs being relegated.
Delicious.
And their chances of winning the Champions League.
Yeah. Stick around to find out who Seb thinks is going to win the Champions League. Oh, fucking big surprise, this guy. Hey? Big surprise. Oh, I moved to Germany and now I've got to say it. Oh.
Can't get back into the country if I don't say it.
Me and all the German media agree. There's one team in the world.
Is that your very best me after all these years?
It's not bad, though.
No, that's all right.
It's not bad. On with the show! Well, where else to begin, of course, than with Arsenal 2, 1 Chelsea, a very interesting result, somewhat dull game, I would say, at times, although it got quite a little bit exciting towards the end, didn't it? It was a set-piece statement victory, right, Steve, for Arsenal against Chelsea. just to be clear, it was for Arsenal. Just wanted you guys to know.
It's a little snidey briefing nonsense. For the Arsenal
against Chelsea at the Emirates Stadium on Sunday evening as they restored their lead at the top of the table to 5 points. I think Man City have a game in hand, don't they? It is technically true what Steve's written, but missing some finer details. Arsenal enjoy scoring from corners so much, right, Steve, that they even scored one on behalf of their London rivals. Very droll there. Of course, referring to what I assume it wouldn't be counted as an own goal.
It is, yeah.
It is
an own goal, yeah.
It's
Really?
Yeah.
Who was the player that we thought had scored it?
Incapie.
No. Who was the player we thought had scored
Reece James?
Reece James?
What, straight from the corner?
Yeah. Reece James Olympico.
I'm thinking of a different goal from this weekend. I'm thinking of a different headed corner goal.
Can't help you with that.
Yeah.
No, are you thinking of the first Arsenal goal?
No, I don't think
The
so.
deflected in offside?
Oh, maybe I am. Yeah. And it was Timber that claimed it.
No, Saliba's header was
Saliba's
goal
header.
Yeah.
Did you watch this game?
I did. That's how I've misremembered fragmented details, Jon. It was Saliba, of course, who as maybe part of the discussion, we'll go on to talk about how everything falls Arsenal's way. Even the own goals are registered for their players, whereas poor old Chelsea, they've got to accept a Hincapie own goal. There we go. Anyway, what a terrible bit of the podcast that was. A 2-1 victory for the Gunners sees them seal precious points against a top 6 rival. It was a very big victory, wasn't it, Steve? And it means that the only remaining league fixture for Arsenal against a side sitting in the top 6 comes against Manchester City. ... Ellipsis Manchester City on Saturday, the 18th of April. Core blimey. That's almost as big as the Spurs Forest game, isn't it? In 3 weeks' time. That's the real big fixture we're all looking for. For Chelsea, of course, defeat ensured that they fell further behind their rivals in the hunt for Champions League qualification. Well, I mean, where should we start? You watched this game, John, because you covered it for your Did You Notice video. Well, I was going to say, was it everything you hoped for? But probably was everything you expected.
Yeah, I think these games are interesting because there's very few of these games that happen now where it feels like both managers sort of agree to play the game on the same terms. And I think in the past, that's always been the recipe for, I think, what neutrals would call a boring game, right? Because both teams want to control the game with and without the ball. And essentially, when you don't have the ball, you're trying to cause problems for the team with the ball and vice versa. And the game then takes the form of a chess match where you have these like tweaks and counter
Just to be
tweaks.
clear, you put that in quotation marks.
Well, yeah, because it's not very much like a chess match at all, is it? Really?
Well, you said it though. No one was insisting that.
You were mugging off people who would say that.
That's
That
right,
was
right,
that was a great layer to that comment.
But I was also using it at the same time.
So you were having your cake and eating
I
it.
was.
You were trying to control the ball both in and out of possession.
Having the ball.
It was
and
really,
eating it.
really
I
clever.
think you're fine.
It was
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah, no problem.
But yeah, and that's sort of what we saw in this game. I think what was really interesting, Liam and I were talking about this just before we came on air, and we're not on air, are we?
No,
We're not
well,
really
I
on air.
mean,
Yes.
We're on air now.
I feel as though we're floating on air.
But surely on
We
air
certainly
means you're
weren't
live.
on air before.
We weren't. We were certain. There was no microphones. It was just two pals having a chat.
When we were off air.
We
you
were
could
off
say.
air, yeah, of course.
Just like
and,
we are now.
And Liam was saying that after the match, Rosenia was making these comments about how he felt as though the performance was good. We were let down on set pieces and discipline. Yeah, right.
Which are part of performance, famously.
Yeah.
But
But isn't that what he said? He said Arsenal have like a great discipline and great corners, two things we don't have, or something like that, wasn't it? Something like
I don't know whether you're thinking of what he said or what I wrote, which was
maybe you wrote that.
that Arsenal have great discipline and a great goalkeeper.
That's what
Chelsea
you
have
wrote
neither.
that tweet, and I read that tweet.
I'm really struggling to link memories with like reality.
Then I've attributed it to a famous football manager.
To another Liam.
A different Liam, yeah.
I think what's interesting about that is that he's clearly considering the game to be that, the space where they've agreed to play on the same terms. And he's been like, we largely understood what Arsenal were going to try and do, and we were largely able to stop them from doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, as Liam says, that's I think it's funny to almost use that as an excuse to be like, well, what more can we do? We performed well, when the reason why set pieces and discipline are so important is because games have become so tight that you need to use those as a means of breaking games open. So, but yeah, that was very much the way that the game panned out. Chelsea, I thought Chelsea played well in terms of the performance, as Liam Rosenia said,
And
Liam
Twomey.
Liam Twomey. They blur into one in my head, Joe. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think in those terms, we were saying it before as well. I think.
Wait. When you were off air or on air?
I think we were off air when we
Right.
said this, but I think there's generally a consensus among people that like if a coach is good, then they should come into any team and make them able to beat any other team, right?
Don't tell Spurs fans.
But the reality is that that's often hard to do, especially when you're playing against a team like Arsenal. So I saw a stat the other day, yesterday, I guess it would have been, that said, I think Mikel Arteta has now beaten Rosenia 3 times, which is more than any other Chelsea coach that he's beaten in the last. He's come across in his whole tenure or something like that.
Right.
I can't remember. That's not a very good stat because
he's rarely played any other Chelsea coaches more than 3 times.
So he's got the record there. But I thought it was a good performance from Chelsea, and I think it was sort of very reminiscent, as I say, of some of those games that we would have in the last 5 years between maybe like a Man City and a Liverpool, where it was very cut and counter,
cagey,
thrust and counter thrust, and no one really wants to give up too much. Arsenal managed to get their 2 set pieces, and that was the difference between the teams.
Well, we'll come on to talk about Chelsea in a moment. But Seb, we just said it was a good performance for Chelsea, also good for Arsenal, but somewhat nervy. Would you say?
Yeah, but I think it's natural. Patrick Vieira was on the broadcast yesterday talking about what it is to kind of get over the line in that situation, to deal with the noise, to deal with the anxiety within a team structure, and a lot of players who haven't done something before. And I think also Emirates has got to that point where it feels in reach now. And anytime there's a setback, you can hear the anxiety in the stadium, which is completely understandable. It's been a very, very long time since Arsenal were able to win the league.
It was the most anxious stadium I've been in quite a long time.
I'm not surprised. Really? I'm not surprised. And also they've had a couple of really bad moments. I mean, the Wolves game was really poor. The way that ended had to be very, very difficult. And so you become attuned to what's going to go wrong once you have this kind of position in the league.
Yeah. You know what to look for.
Yeah, and actually Chelsea played well. Like I think there was enough about Chelsea yesterday to stoke that anxiety a little bit, especially the way they played through Arsenal's midfield. And certainly from open play, they looked more dangerous.
Yeah.
I was kind of impressed by Chelsea, actually. Right up. Actually, I was going to ask Liam, while we're here, is there a working theory on the discipline issue at Chelsea?
And we refer to, of course, the fact that, is it 9 different Chelsea players this season now?
Yes, and there's a
red cards.
technicality, isn't there, Liam, that you wrote about in terms of it's technically 10 across Chelsea's staff this season.
Yeah, because Maresca was sent off against Liverpool. But that was probably the most excusable in that he was running to join a mass pylon after Esteval's winner.
Yeah.
I don't think he had any regrets. But it's been 9 different players across all competitions. It is not a Premier League record because they've had 7 different players in the Premier League and the record is 8.
What about total?
They're very close.
Who holds
What's
the record?
total?
Sunderland in 2009-10 and I believe a Leicester team from the mid-90s.
Oh, wow.
But the total number of red cards in the season, what's that record? Is that?
I don't know if it's a record in all competitions.
Right, okay.
I think they are pushing up against history on a number of fronts.
It's only March.
They're not going to get Champions League. Just get that record.
Why is it? Because
their name in the history books.
Every time it happens, someone gets criticised publicly. So today it'll be Pedro Neto for what is like a moment that probably changed the game. Because it felt like Chelsea were in the ascendancy when it happened. And also the decision to make that tackle is, I don't know, kind of hard to defend. And yet it never seems to correct. What's the working theory behind that?
Well, with great timeliness, I wrote a piece for The Athletic breaking down Chelsea's 10 red cards that people can read. And the 2 things that struck me, I think, are 1, there were 3 last man fouls in there, which are just obviously automatic red cards. The other thing that's happening, I think, is that a certain number of yellow cards are baked into the way Chelsea play. They're aggressive, they hunt the ball. You are going to get tackles wrong, you're going to pick up yellow cards, sometimes by design rather than by accident because you're trying to stop counter-attacks. What is also happening is because they pick up so many other cards for dissent and things that are easily avoidable, they're eliminating their margin for error.
Like the Enzo one yesterday when he shows straight descent by just banging the ball into the turf.
Yeah, and you can imagine if that happens in the first half, then he's a real live risk to get sent off at some point in the game. But as it was, Pedro Neto gets a yellow card for dissent. And it was 2 minutes and 58 seconds between that and him being shown the red card for a tackle that it felt like you could see the cogs going in Gabriel Martinelli's head because he got the ball, he got Neto 1v1 and kind of stopped. I was like, I'm just going to knock this down the line and see what happens. See if he dives in.
Liam accuses Arsenal player of cheating.
No, it's a smart thing.
Hey,
it's like,
you gotta be careful with what you put into the editor's hands on this podcast, right?
But it's like, why wouldn't you ask the question as a winger in that situation? Especially 100%. Martinelli was fresh, Neto wasn't. And Neto had to track back. And you've already seen that he's running hot from a couple of minutes earlier. I thought it was a good example of good game IQ on Arsenal's side and really bad game IQ from Chelsea, which is what we've seen time and again this season.
Over your shoulder, I can see producer Steve nodding furiously at Arsenal praise. Just like it makes him so happy. It's great.
Well, let's do some Chelsea praise.
I'm just trying to make sure I get a favourable edit. I think
exactly. It's a survival mission coming on this podcast.
What's the Reece James? I was trying to think of Reece James's name for the last 5 minutes, and then as soon as I started speaking, it would come out of my mouth. You know, that's how my brain works. Anyway, I watched Reece James in this game. I did watch it. I watched him.
Are you sure?
I watched it, John. I watched him, and I thought, God, if he was fit all the time,
he's excellent.
He's fucking amazing, isn't he? His delivery, it was so incredible.
He's the best footballer at Chelsea. I think that's
so?
been true for a long time.
Yeah.
It's just a shame that he's still kind of on a sort of Ledley King-esque plan where he's fit. There's nothing wrong with him physically, but he's had so many problems in recent years that there is just such an abundance of caution about his minutes load.
Right.
That he'll play on a weekend and then won't play the midweek. Or if they want him to play the midweek because it's a Champions League season, then a trade-off will have to be made at the weekend. And there was a example earlier this season where that Maresca didn't make that trade-off, and it was a real source of tension with the medical department.
Right.
Because I think they know how good Reece James is. They also know how important he is as a presence in this team. This isn't a team with a ton of leaders. And I think while...
Is he club captain?
He is club captain.
Yeah.
And I think for a while, at least at the start, that was a burden that seemed to sit uneasily with him, and he was called out publicly by Maresca about his lack of leadership at a time when he wasn't playing,
right? Which
clearly meant that criticism was more about what was happening off the pitch and how vocal he was being at Cobham, and I think he's made massive strides in that. You can see it in the way he conducts himself.
Yeah,
you hear about things that he's doing behind the scenes, arranging team dinners and speaking to less established players in the squad. He's embracing that responsibility. The problem is that there is a cap on how much influence you can have as captain if you're not on the pitch all the time.
Yeah.
And he's still not at a point where he can be on the pitch all the time. But his quality has never been in doubt. He's a phenomenal footballer.
Does he train in every session, Liam? Or does he get excused a couple so that he can manage his workload?
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily know if we'd get told if he missed a session or two every now and then. But we haven't heard anything about him being limited recently. Okay. But I think it's just a case of, in terms of those really high intensity competitive minutes, they just watch them really carefully.
Yeah, it's just because you mentioned Ledley King and he didn't train at all.
He basically spent all week in a pool. I don't think it's like
swim,
that. Yeah.
And then amazing that he was able to contribute to the level that he was. But it's so sad because you're always left wondering what a player could have been by the end of his career if they don't have those opportunities.
Well, particularly when you watch games like yesterday, because I felt
it's brilliant.
It was he was like watching Kevin De Bruyne for parts of the game. Do you know what I mean? It was like the impact that he had on the game was huge, and of all of Chelsea's players, he was clearly the one that was more likely to make something happen.
He's like Trent Alexander-Arnold, but with physicality. He can really dominate physically as well as technically, but technically he's absolutely on that level.
Absolutely. Well, one downside for Chelsea, I suppose, would be that they have now conceded. I've been signed out of the Google Doc. It's perfect timing, isn't it? It's perfect timing. I think what I was saying was they've conceded 7 set-piece goals under Rosenior in not that many
13 matches.
In 13 matches. Is that that is a problem. Why is that happening, do you think?
Well, Rosenior was asked about it after the game in his press conference and said that they'd switched up their scheme defensively in the week leading up to the Arsenal game. So it was a new defensive scheme. And we saw actually one very noticeable difference from the Carabao Cup game, which I was talking to you about, John.
Off air.
Oh, was it off air? It's good to establish that, though.
Was that in the Carabao Cup game at the Emirates, they had this quite quirky gambit where they would set up to defend with all 10 outfield players, and then suddenly 3 of them would sprint upfield.
Oh, yeah, that was
giving
cool.
the Arsenal players the choice of whether to stay or to track them back, and Arsenal made the choice to track them back, and it left a bit more room for Robert Sanchez to maybe come and claim the ball.
Did that catch on against Arsenal? Did we see any other teams
doing
that?
No, and they didn't do it in this game. And when Rosenior was asked about it, he said it was because he went back and analysed those set pieces, and Arsenal very nearly scored. So they decided, and they also assumed that Arsenal would have prepped for it this time around. It was kind of a
double bluff almost.
More space for Rob Sanchez is also more space for Gabriel, right? So it's definitely a trade-off.
It's risky.
And I guess maybe the biggest impact you get from something like that is that it's unusual and they maybe not prep for it, which is why Rosenior would say.
In general, though, like Arsenal scoring 2 goals from corners against Chelsea was like the polar opposite of you couldn't write it. It's as if there was like an undergraduate script writer who just asked ChatGPT for the
what's the most likely
the
outcome
least inspired
here?
Plot line.
Should we talk about corners quickly? Just because I'd be curious. I'm curious to find out from the rest of the table what people think. I think it has to stop. It's crazy.
Corners in general, they have to stop.
Yeah, corners have to be banned. No, I'm even thinking, there's a proposal to change the rules around time wasting from next season, right? So, for example, a defensive positioning, if time wasting is called, can become an attacking play. So, for example, if a goalkeeper takes too long over a goal kick, that could become an offensive corner, right? Is that
an
true?
offensive goal kick?
Yeah, exactly, an offensive.
They should
goal
do
kick.
the same with corners. If you take too long on a corner, then the other team gets the corner.
Gets the corner at the other end of the pitch.
Can you imagine how boring the trundle should be? Like people walking down.
No, they should take it from the same end. You just have to take it almost like a goal kick from the corner flag.
A corner kick, yeah.
It's like if a game of rugby was only line-outs.
Exactly, yeah. It would be great fun. I mean, that's kind of what it was like watching Chelsea versus Arsenal yesterday. But my point is more that we saw this when Manchester United played Everton last weekend. We saw this. There's one other example of the game I watched recently. I can't remember what it is now. It's everywhere.
So
right?
regular now.
It's caught. I mean, obviously, Arsenal have perfected this art. They're absolutely incredible at it, and I think it often it does go without saying. I.e., it should be said. It's because they have one or two absolutely incredible corner kick takers.
They have brilliant personnel.
Yeah,
and you've got those takers,
exactly.
And you've got Gabriel who leaps like a salmon.
I mean, so we can. I'm not trying to take away anything from Nicolas Jauvert, who's the set piece coach, but they have all of the right players to achieve this thing.
Everything they can optimize,
but they've also done that. Yeah. But understandably, every other Premier League team, I think, is looking at this and thinking, well, we've always been a bit argy-bargy at corners, but why don't we all just stand on top of the goalkeeper? And somehow this isn't a foul. Every week I watch, and I think, this isn't even. I'm not even having a pop at Declan Rice for holding on to whichever player it was. João Pedro with both arms, elbowing the ball, not getting called up for it. This happens every single corner with every single team. Surely, the people who make rules in football are looking at this and thinking, well, we're going to have to talk about this summer.
This is the meat shield era of Premier League football.
I feel like this is a product of the way the game is officiated in England, which is it's very flip-floppy.
Yeah.
The interpretation around what's fine and what's not goes back and forth, and it happens during the season itself, even week to week, right?
Sure.
So what we'll have next week is because there's been a lot of conversation about
because Rice didn't give away a penalty.
Yeah, and so someone at the PGMOL will say, right, well, this week let's be super strict about it, and then it'll go away, and people will start talking about something else.
Yeah.
Well, you can't.
Poor old Spurs are going to concede a penalty for nothing.
There'll be a penalty because the Spurs seem to be a week behind with the refereeing cycle.
Yves Bissouma's elbow.
Yeah, there'll be sort of the goalkeeper will just be shoved into the back of the net with the ball, and that'll be fine that week.
Yeah.
I think
it nearly touched his hand. Penalty.
It was kind of fine. It was incidental contact. I think with this kind of thing, it's really unfair to change the rules in the middle of a season. You have to go into a summer and say, look, we're going to tweak this. We're going to make it, I don't know, so that if you're actually grabbing an opponent, that's not allowed.
They do this. They do this at the beginning of every season, though, right? And then it lasts for about 2 weeks, and they don't do it.
But then that's the flip-flopping nature, John. It's just they're not strong enough with a lot of these things, and it's not just this rule. It just happens to be. We're talking about this because it's such a big part of the season, and then Arsenal have had so much success at it.
Yeah, of course.
And it's not an Arsenal problem. It's just they do it better than everybody else, and they're leading the league.
I'm not ready to accept that. By the way, I know. Sorry, I know that's the. I know. I hear a lot of people say that.
Steve is glaring.
Of course, and I'm happy. I'm happy to take the pelters for this. I know that every.
Have you ever seen a podcast where the host gets edited out?
You're about to.
I know that every team gets a little dodgy at corners. I'm not saying that there isn't grabbing in the box. There always has been, right? There's always been grabbing in the box at corners. What Arsenal do is not the same thing. What they pioneered, what they started to do, what Mikel Merino dreams of at night when he goes to sleep, is standing on the feet of a goalkeeper and preventing them from moving, and perfecting the art of it not being a foul because they haven't moved their body towards the thing.
I disagree with you. I think this has become. We analyse this in much more detail in the VAR era because it's a little more exaggerated now, but previously there used to be shenanigans at set pieces that it was generally accepted. A referee can't be expected to see 4 different things at the same time. Like I think I was watching the highlights of the Chelsea-Barcelona game, the Ronaldinho game from back in the day. And everyone remembers the Ronaldinho goal and Chelsea's winning goal, but it's a huge foul by John Terry on Victor Valdez in the build-up to that. But it's kind of, it's not unforgivable.
But wasn't it for John Terry's header, it was Ricardo Carvalho.
Sorry, you're quite
Valdez.
right. Yeah, it's Terry's header. Yeah. And Carvalho is just blocking Valdez out of the way, and I think he might also be offside for it. So it's a function of the way we look at the game as a result of applying the VAR lens.
I'm not erasing the past.
You kind of are. You can't.
No, I'm not.
He can't remember the past. He can't even rember who Reece James is.
I caveated my point at the beginning by saying I know that since time immemorial everyone's been doing it. I think Arsenal do it.
Make another point.
Of course, I can. I think Arsenal do it specifically badly a bit more.
It's always been an art. Arsenal have made it a science.
Yeah, that's. I think that's it.
But Again, I disagree. I think of like, do you remember the 2018 World Cup when England were very good at set pieces? And you have Maguire and Stones, and there was all the nonsense that was going on. Okay, no one was really on top of the goalkeeper, but there was a lot of stuff happening there. And I think, again, I hate myself for saying this. I can't really blame Arsenal for it. I don't like the
I'm not blaming them.
Well, it feels like we are, because it feels like we're trying to discredit something they do very, very well, and it's allowed by the officials.
Right.
And so it's fine. It's on the officials to
agree.
Not set the precedents which allow set piece coaches to go away and go,
yeah.
Fine, you can barge a goalkeeper.
But that's why I said at the beginning, like, that, it's an officiating problem, and that people need to do something about it. In the same way, for example, that like the Crystal Palace red card and penalty that was given away. The
Lacroix one,
the Lacroix one. By the letter of the law, that's a penalty and a red card. And I don't know anyone that watched that thought that should be a penalty and a red card.
Within the spirit of the game.
It's an officiating problem.
Yeah,
and I think it's the same with corners. Arsenal are incredible at them. They're incredible. They should be praised, and I'm not saying they should have points taken away. They should win the league on the basis of how incredible they are at scoring from corners. I just think it's not in the spirit of the game to block the goalkeeper.
I agree, and if I were to make the laws again, I would stipulate that too. But I would also say, like, we got to remember that Arsenal's delivery is very good. The way they move their players is very good. The way that they take advantage of the loopholes that exist in the laws is really, really good. And I think those two conversations have to be allowed to happen at the same time, really. But then it's kind of, this is not a new issue. The reason we struggle with time wasting in football is because referees are weak. And so players have been allowed to get away with it to the point where now they're legislating and creating new rules to kind of to solve a problem which needn't exist in the first place. Like there's no rational reason why a player should ever have been allowed to spend 60 seconds taking a throw in. And yet we've all seen that a million times in every league across Europe. And now we're kind of, let's make a new law. It's like, no, it's not the way to do it. You just have to have officials who are more diligent, I think.
I think the issue with set pieces for me is not that Arsenal are good at them, but that they've become too influential on outcomes in the game. And I'm not even saying they're for penalties corners shouldn't result in goals to the extent that they do. The issue for me is that they are having a negative impact in open play football. And I guess for me, I just feel instinctively like the corner was always just a way of restarting the game in a certain condition, right? And despite the fact that you said before, like, set pieces are a part of performance, I do think that if your game gets to a point where a means of restarting the game becomes an important means of scoring to the detriment of the actual open play stuff, I think you've got a problem on your hands, which is why I would even go beyond an officiating rule. I think it's a league, the league officials who run what do we call
that?
The
is also
Premier
an
League
officiating rule.
Yeah, it is officiating, but like less than less for me. It's less like the referees and more it's an issue for the Premier League, right? Because if the league becomes determined by what happens in these set plays, and again, like maybe that sports exist where they are determined by set plays, right? NFL is basically a sport which is set piece based, right? Yeah, you can do that, and we could let football go that way. But I think if it comes to the detriment of open play stuff, you're losing something about football that is intrinsic to it.
Well, you could make that argument as it applies to NBA or basketball as well, because a similar kind of tactical development that we've seen in basketball over the last 10, 15 years or so is that it's very different from the situation with set pieces, but it affects the game in the same existential way, potentially, is that teams have realized there's no point taking mid-range jumpers, aka like where you get 2 points, but you're not right underneath the net. Either you drive into the paint and you get a layup or a dunk, or you take a 3 from outside.
A bad 3 is better than a bad 2.
Exactly, and the reason is, in basketball is because of the maths. Like if getting a 50% extra point on top of the points you get from a normal hoop makes it worthwhile in the longer run. But what it's meant is that as teams have optimized to that degree over 10 years, you end up seeing teams that play exactly the same kind of quite boring basketball over and over again. Now, that's maybe a slight exaggeration, and some people would say that that's just something that happens in an organic sport. People optimize in a certain area, and then when everybody's there, they have to optimize back again. You could make the argument that with set pieces, for example, defenses are going to catch up. Everyone's been praising Senna Lomans in the last couple of weeks for being able to command his penalty area and punch those things away. Maybe as defenses catch up, then teams won't be able to take these opportunities, and they'll have to try and optimize somewhere else.
I think I would push back against that, because I think even if they were to optimize for defending set pieces, that is going to change the profile of players that you bring in. That's going to change the open play situation. And I see it. What's happened, especially in terms of Arsenal, is that in part the reason why they've had to rely on set pieces more is because they've optimized for the defensive side of the game, and that's had a knock-on impact on their ability to create chances in open play, not least tactically, but also because some of the profiles that they brought in, and therefore as a result they've had to lean into the set piece side of things. And I think what would happen then is if you changed the rules of the game so that it became harder to score set pieces, it would no longer be tactically viable for Arsenal to play the way that they do. They wouldn't be able to compete at the top of the table, and so it would have to, I think, presage some kind of evolution where they ended up going back to being, I guess, more technical.
Yes, John,
on
change
the
the
field,
rules.
Right?
Yeah,
but this is the story of football, isn't it? Like the tactical evolution has always been tied to changes in rules,
the offside rule in particular.
Yeah,
Or little
changes
evolutions within players as well, like the way you what abilities do you privilege in centre halves, for instance? Do you want your big thumping 7-footer, or do you want someone who can play with the ball on the floor?
Do you want your fullback to be 6 foot plus and good in the air to be an auxiliary set piece threat, or do you want them to be effectively a number 10 on the ball?
Should every
do number 10s even exist anymore? Right?
We need every goalkeeper to look like Costa Pantilimon, you know.
Would Marcelo be a left back that any top Premier League club looks to sign right now because of
that's true
the way it's all going and the set piece?
It's really good because apparently the player that Spurs signed, the fullback that Spurs signed, Sousa, apparently he's the next Marcelo. So.
Right again, just
at the cutting edge,
right at the sharp edge.
If that's the case, then if it's just an era thing where teams optimize for something and then optimize away, and what is efficient changes over time, then rate to this era out of 10, out of your favorites. Like, is this one that you are enjoying more as a viewer? Is this one that you're enjoying less?
No, I can't say I'm really enjoying this particular style of football, because a lot of the some set peacocks. Some set peacocks. Some set piece goals are nice to watch when you get a really clean...
I love the way he started that again, as though we're not going to keep it about peacocks and staying. Feel free to give us a clean edit, but let's stay again.
Peacocks would mix it up though.
What is a set peacock? Is that that's not like an open place?
The next evolution. Right? It's the next distraction. You just plant a peacock in the middle of the penalty area and then just have runners going off.
They'd be quite good defensively, I think, when they stick their tail up. It's like
cover a lot of ground.
Good screening, isn't
They're
it?
terrifying, man. Peacocks. I stayed in an Airbnb on a sort of land. I can't remember what it is.
On some land.
And there were peacocks there, and there was a polite notice that said, "Oh, please enjoy the peacocks, but beware of the peacock." They're fucking vicious peacocks.
But make sure you don't swing in any corners.
Yeah, that's right.
But I mean, if you get like an emphatic header from a corner, that's nice. But
that's nice.
A lot of the goals that we're seeing are kind of the ball being bundled over the line.
Sure.
With a goalkeeper falling backwards.
That's true.
Into the net with it. And I just like,
Max
aesthetically, that doesn't...
Crystal Palace header against Man United this weekend, that was a lovely set piece goal, wasn't it? The arcing header.
I thought the first Arsenal set piece was really good. It was remarkable. Yeah. I thought it was beautiful. Like just the accuracy of the ball to the back post. Gabriel being able to just jump over everyone, get it back into the dangerous area. Mm-hmm. I thought it was lovely.
I find it quite interesting. Like in isolation, the sort of the punch and counter punch aspect of it. What do you do to negate it? So we were talking about that Chelsea tactic of running players up the pitch. It's you get to see, like, someone like John sees a million different things, technical things happening in a game at any one time, sure. But for me, if I'm watching highlights, that's an interesting thing. For the lay viewer, it's quite fun. I mean, it's not a spectacle, but then we've had overcoached football in the Premier League before. So if you think back to the kind of the Jose Mourinho, Rafa Benitez games, the Liverpool-Chelsea matches from that era, God, they were boring. no matter how hard Sky tried to kind of overhype them and Grandstand Sunday and Super Sunday and title aside, it always felt like it was a single Didier Drogba goal amidst a sea of shit.
Well, and now we view it solely through the nostalgic prism of highlight packages.
Exactly that. All you remember is the
games.
Michael Essien goal against Arsenal with the outside of his foot. Whereas anytime you allow, and Joe's point about American sport is quite pertinent, because anytime you allow coaches to have too much influence, which is what the stop-start nature of American sport does, it makes them kind of set pieces. I think you lose a little bit of something from the game because it's supposed to be a player-led sport, really. I mean, that's the fluid nature of football. So this is not a new moral panic because Arsenal are winning and doing it well and have become very good at corners. I think there's a sort of, it's just a cyclical thing that's come around again.
It's true, isn't it? It's like, this is we live in a great time of logic and efficiency, don't we? Where the culture really seems to prize those things, and I understand why. It's capitalism. That's why, and also people's specific predilections. But also, I would say, apply it to something else. Think like I'm going on holiday, for example. I could plan the fuck out of that, and I could have the exact holiday that I was expecting to have, and I could make sure that all of my little commutes between areas were the most efficient possible, and that I spent the precise correct amount of time in every single place with the peacock. And to be honest, it's the kind of thing I would do. But that's also maybe why I don't enjoy holidays, right? Isn't the whole point that something happens that you didn't expect, or there's a kind of a margin for doubt or grey area within which new things occur?
I do think that's an interesting point, though, because I guess every sport, everything with a set of rules invites itself to be optimized, right? And I think that's precisely why, if you want to, if you think the enjoyment of a sport is being able to do that and to impose control on the game, then sure, like you'll find it enjoyable. But I think for most people, the ability to have those bits around the edges where you can't control, which changes things.
Which is why people like football.
Yeah, it's an intrinsic aspect to the sport as well. And so with the set piece thing, what we're saying there is if set pieces allow the completion of the sport so that the sport almost becomes a matter of fact, then what are we losing something there that is intrinsically what fans want to watch? And I think the way that you change that is by consistently, as Liam said, changing the laws. That's what's happened. The offside law is just a classic example. You can go back through 100 years of football history, and essentially whenever it gets to a point where it's harder for teams to score goals, you change the offside rule in favour of the attackers, and suddenly you get more goals again. And that's what people want. I mean, people will point now and say, well, there's never been more goals scored this season than in the last 5 years or whatever. But I think the nature of a lot of those goals as well is it has become so matter of fact, the goals that you score. It's like, you'll see, what is it, Arsenal, 30 set-piece goals this season or something like that across all competitions. That's 30 of very similar sort of goals being scored. And I think unless you can protect the ability for games to be strange and unusual, then you run the risk of losing your audience. And I think that's what the codifiers of the game, as we said before, that's their responsibility to keep the sport interesting enough for fans to watch it.
Hey, can we just mention a really cool story that James McNicholas has published? So it's just come out, so we can mention it now. But Nicolas Jova actually has a set-piece goal bonus clause in his contract. That's kind of cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
As a story, not a...
Is he encouraging players to hit the ball off opponents to play for corners?
Almost certainly. Almost
that.
certainly. There's probably that dynamic at work within the Arsenal coaching structure.
Well, there we go. That was a fun conversation, wasn't it? Now let's play the Rondo. Yes, very exciting. Liam, welcome to the Rondo. Are you excited?
Beyond.
You're beyond excited. Good Lord. Well, hopefully it'll be worth it. Let me first say credit to Peyton from the Tifo Football Discord for last week's Rondo. Today's, I've sort of adapted a suggestion from member Danny. So thanks to both of you for your Rondo suggestions. Something was cut, and it was a whole episode of the podcast. No, it was a whole Rondo Del Rey there because it was adjudged too hard. Although I do want to say Seb won it with a 100% response record. Yeah. It just happened that you only had to give 2 answers in order to win. So we've decided to abandon that one. And do a different one instead. We've worked out a simpler version of it, and now here it is. The category for today's Rondo is as simple as this. It's very, very simple. Can you name teams that have won the Europa League or the UEFA Cup, which was its predecessor, prior named competition, twice or more? Twice or more. There are 14 correct answers, and here's how the rondo works. It goes as this. We go round in a circle. As soon as you take too long to give me an answer, or you give me an incorrect answer, you are out, and the last person standing is named Del Rondo Rey, or whatever it is.
I like Rondo Del Rey. I know it's incorrect, but I like it.
It's named Rondo Del Rey. Right, let us begin. Seb, with you. Please say a team that has won the Europa League or the UEFA Cup twice or more.
Sevilla.
Sevilla have won it 7 times, so they count. They're in there. Okay.
Get it off the board.
Liam?
Kids, yeah.
Chelsea.
Chelsea have won it twice. Yeah, 2013 and 2019. Congratulations, John.
I'm going to say Eintracht Frankfurt.
Frankfurt have won it twice, in 1980 and 2022. Seb?
Tottenham.
Tottenham won it 3 times, actually. Yeah. Liam?
Atletico Madrid.
Atletico Madrid have won it 3 times. Back to you, John.
Villarreal.
Oh, the suspense is good.
Villarreal are not on the list, no. Sad.
Well, these two have got to pick their teams, so...
I guess that's true. You don't want to say Leeds.
No, because I've already answered twice correctly, so he's eliminated ahead of me.
That's true.
But if Leeds had done
We've
it...
had an entire section about like law enforcement, and you're not doing it. You're not setting
It's
an
your
example.
turn.
You force the laws.
It's your turn. Now, remember, there's a time limit, and I'm reaching the point where I start counting down from 5.
Okay.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Say a team. Porto have won it twice. 2003.
Literally the one I was sitting there with.
Oh no! Okay, Liam.
That was your security.
Over to you, Liam. There are some big teams here. Some big teams.
Juventus.
Juventus are in there. Absolutely, they won it 3 times. Back to you, Seb. You can't go wrong with a big team. I mean, you can, but got a pretty good chance. Just saying, a big team.
Liverpool
are in there. They won it 3 times as well. Yeah. Back to you, Liam.
Inter
have also won it 3 times.
Nice,
Okay,
nice.
that's all the 3-time teams.
Okay.
Now we're just on 2 or more. Seb, back to you.
Oh. Okay, I'm going to take a punt because I know they've won it once. Manchester United
have only won it once. They've been runners-up twice. Okay, yeah. Liam, to be named Rondo Del Rey, you must give a final correct answer.
Benfica.
Benfica are not
That's the
there.
Bella Gutman curse, isn't it?
They're not there. Real Madrid are there, though.
Okay.
Real Madrid have won it twice, apparently.
In what they'd consider to be off seasons.
Well, 1985 and 1986, famous off seasons. Other than that, you could have had Borussia Mönchengladbach.
Oh, yeah,
They've won it twice. That was in 75 and 79. Feyenoord have won it twice in 74, 2002.
Galatasaray?
Gala aren't there, no. IFK Göteborg are there, though. Swedish team, 82 and 87. Parma have won it twice, 95, 99.
Arsenal.
Yeah.
No, they didn't beat Arsenal. Arsenal beat them on the way to...
Galatasaray beat Arsenal, didn't
It
they?
was Zaragoza. Yeah, they beat them on the way to the Zaragoza Naim final. Yeah.
There you go. Well, that was it.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
Parma
no one
was
won.
the last one. No one won. There's no Rondo
But
Del Rey.
But someone lost.
Someone
Yeah.
lost more than everybody else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Everyone lost.
No, let's hold our horses.
In a
They're
way,
all
the,
losers,
the
but
real
someone
Rondo
always
Del
is.
Rey was the fun we had along the way.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, wasn't
Do
it?
we not mean that Kaya is kept there because he was the reigning Rondo Del Rey from the last game?
I guess that's technically true.
No,
Kaya
you can't,
retains-
again, you can't just make up rules week to week. The entire podcast has been about this, Steve.
But when you're weak and flailing in the wind, you can.
No.
Okay.
I think Seb feels like he won, like the equivalent of the old version of the Club World Cup
Yeah,
before
yeah,
it was expanded, and now
Exactly.
no one ever
And now
talks about
no one
it.
takes it seriously. It's
Seb.
it's gaudy, overthought replacement.
Okay, congratulations to Kaya, who retains the Rondo Del Rey title there until next episode, where we will return with another Rondo. Congratulations on what I thought was a good performance, though, Seb.
Yeah, thank you very much, Joe.
Yeah, and to you, Liam, as a debutant.
Thank you.
done.
Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Not
Yeah,
you, John.
yeah.
Not you. Now, let's talking of tough
Oh, sorry,
runs.
mate. Can I get a break and then... Can I get a
Steve
break?
wants a break. What are you going to do? Yeah. Does he think I'm going to give him a clean break? He can't have a clean break. He's going to have to cut over me. We're back from a break where things were cut because I have a mutiny happening in the studio. We've decided against doing a certain segment because of fears in the room. Imagine fears.
I've got an original point to make.
What's that?
So whilst
no, there's no time for it.
No,
now listen.
it's a good
do you,
one. It's
do you
a good
think
one.
Arsenal
No,
or
it's
Man
really
City's
good.
run-in is
Definitely worth
harder?
it.
Which one do you think?
I
Is it
don't-
Arsenal or Man City's run-in is harder?
Well, on reflection, I don't care about any of that.
Okay.
I was just whilst you were talking, I was watching a trailer for a modded version of Pro Evolution Soccer.
A modded version?
Yeah, and it made me think, how ridiculous is it? I mean, it's an amazing piece of work. I'm watching the.
Are there any
trailer
peacocks?
None so far. That we are still relying on kind of the Pro Evolution Soccer community to produce a good football game for any console,
Right,
or PC.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's modded, so it can't be on console. But
Yeah.
When you say modded, you mean just made up to date, basically?
yeah, but also with loads of tweaks. So this one's it's a World Cup '98 edition, and the quality is unbelievable to the point where they've replicated specific moments from the tournament, and it's fabulous. It's well done to the people that made it, of course, but it's also, hey guys, make us a playable version, EA Sports or Konami, please.
It'll never happen.
It'll never happen.
All right, back to the plan. Come on.
Oh, we're off plan now, Steve. No, we're off.
Do you see what I mean, though? It's kind of
course.
it's very frustrating because I know I'm in my 40s now, so not everything has to be about what I want. But
And oddly, the game you enjoy the most was from 1998.
No,
there's a middle ground here.
I really enjoyed the Pro Evolution Soccer series until probably 2021 when it became whatever it is now, the online
eFootball.
Yeah, I don't really care for that. I don't really understand it.
It's the enshittification of culture, right? It's
because it's also, there's no Master League, there's no tournament modes. It's just this weird, big kind of ultimate team replicant. It's very strange.
eFootball is.
Yeah.
I only ever played it the one time. Is it still, people still playing it? It's free, isn't it? You can play
It's
it
free.
to
It's
play.
I've never
free
actually
download.
played it.
Never actually played it.
I just remember
Father
playing
of two children now.
Yeah.
when we were playing
run.
back in 1998 and we were playing those. It was just such a simpler game, right?
Yeah.
It was just you would just go in the game and play again, and now it just feels like it's become. I don't know. On the one hand, it's become way more complex, but also the gameplay, which is supposed to be the enjoyable thing, has gotten worse, right? And I don't really understand it. When we
Why is
played,
it so
I think it's got
difficult?
worse.
the gameplay.
Yeah, the gameplay
Yeah.
has. Yeah, I don't understand why. Like,
But why do you say it's got worse?
They don't even let you hold at corners. It's unbelievable.
And there's no peacocks as well. Of
I
course.
think because there's so much emphasis on
Realism.
realism, yes, because graphically everything's really advanced now, but also you don't have to engage people in the same ways because you've got Ultimate Team, you've got microtransactions, you've got. I read something the other day, and I don't know if it's true, but apparently the new EAFC is going to feature an open world. I don't want that. I don't want.
How?
But that's what I mean. Like apparently,
They do this in the NBA game, the NBA 2K game. It's like all anyone wants to do is just play some
I just wanna
basketball, and
play
they've got this like open world, like almost RPG type situation.
But if they did a
exists, like,
medieval at FIFA where it's like two villages versus one another, that would be fun.
Yeah,
Sure, that would be.
And let
fun.
me tell you, the rules about holding in that game,
Yeah.
they were
You're
much-
only allowed to hold
much
if you've
softer.
stabbed someone with a pike. Yeah. Anyway, okay, fine. We're not going to talk about run-ins in the Premier League, Steve. We've decided.
Apparently.
The table.
Can I talk about
But
Arsenal being nervy, though? I wanted to talk about that because I did my Did You Notice on that.
He doesn't want to talk about three other things, but now he wants to talk about the thing he's already talked about.
Should we
in
take
different
away
media.
him talking about Villa? Should we take that away from him?
Yeah,
He-
well,
he
I
doesn't
don't want
do
to
that
talk
anyway.
about
okay.
He doesn't want to do anything that's on the
you
plan.
have been manipulated.
This is the problem.
I'm a fan of the new format of the Tifo Football Podcast.
Yeah. You and all the viewers are going to love this massive mess of an episode. Sure, talk about whatever the fuck you want. What is it? Nerviness?
Well, no, I mean,
Couldn't you have brought that up earlier when we were talking
I was
about
going to, but I
nerves?
was letting my
Do you not remember when
co-hosts
Liam said
talk.
that the stadium was
Right,
the
but
nerviest
what I
he'd
wanted
ever
to do-
felt anywhere?
Often when we talk about nerviness, it's entirely thrown out as like this is a purely psychological thing, right? It's the players are worried about losing games, and it's understandable, and we can understand that, right? Because we've all been in situations where we're nervous. I'm quite nervous now because I've derailed the podcast, and you're looking at me quite angrily. So
I am angry.
I've never
He's
been
IRL.
I've never been in a more nervous podcast studio in my life.
Good Lord.
We could be the Arsenal fans, Seb, and just provide the
exactly.
provide the anxious hubbub.
Occasionally going,
Every time I make a bad point, they're like, "Ooh." But what I talked about in my Did You Notice was that actually a big
you
part.
talked about this somewhere else already on the internet.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Well,
Let's
it's
do it
not
again.
actually.
Off air.
It's not.
Yeah,
it's
off
already
air.
not. It's not already out. But
It will be by the time this goes.
I think what's so interesting about this is that actually Arsenal seem to be more nervous in winning game states. So you remember the Manchester United game where they went 1-0 up and looked pretty comfortable up until that point, and then after that point they seem to become quite nervy. And I think part of the reason for that is because the way that Arsenal are so good on the ball is that they use a huge amount of positional flexibility. Their players are always rotating around to make it easier for them to possess the ball, move the ball down the field. And that kind of fluidity is really good for what you want to do on the ball. But when it comes to the defensive side of the game, actually what you want is structure and rigidity to a certain extent. And I think when Arsenal go into winning game states at the moment, what they're doing is they're becoming much less fluid and flexible in possession. And as a result, it's becoming much harder for them to possess the ball well. And so what they're doing is ending up going direct a lot more because of that. And as a result of that, they're looking way more nervy in those situations where they really shouldn't be feeling more nervy. It's almost like they stop playing well as soon as they're in a winning game state. And I think that's a kind of really interesting. We've seen it in a few games now. I actually think the same happened in this Chelsea game. I think when Arsenal went ahead, they stopped doing things as well as they were when allowed Chelsea to get back in, and the same happened again.
Because they're afraid of conceding, right?
Yeah, right. So
there were crazy stats comparing like the number of passes Chelsea completed versus Arsenal when Chelsea were down to 10 men after the Timber goal.
Yeah, I didn't actually see the numbers, but like even first half to second half, Arsenal made 60 fewer passes in the second half, in a half where they were ahead for longer than they were in the first half. And I think that's a really interesting aspect of what Arsenal are really, because Arsenal are a fantastic team in terms of controlling possession. And we talk a lot about control all the time with Arsenal. It's like, they try to be too controlling, but it's almost like in the recent few months, they've actually been worse at controlling the games, which is why they've looked a little bit more shaky. And I think it's because they're prioritizing out of possession control and rigidity and structure over the in possession side, where they have the ability to be fluid, possess the ball really well, and actually not allow opponents any kind of sniff at goal.
It's also because of injuries, though, right? Like Havertz not being there makes a big difference to how they press, doesn't it?
Yeah, and Odegaard as well. I think Odegaard gets a bad rap, I think, from Arsenal fans. Was it Keith Andrews? I think gave an interview the other day who said,
Brentford coach.
Yeah, the Brentford coach. He said, I've been watching Arsenal tapes back, and when they have Odegaard pressing out the front, they are so much better out of possession. Yeah. And he said that they press differently when he's not there. And these are the sorts of things that coaches are talking about. And I think, there's definitely a huge amount of aspects that come into this. Football is a complex game, but I do think that it is interesting that the nerves do have a sort of very tangible tactical impact. It's not just the players are nervous. Sure. It's impacting their decision making, so they're not doing the things that they were doing in the same game earlier on. Right, it's weird maybe that it's attached to winning game states rather than these other game states where you could feasibly be more nervous when you're not winning, right? But
sure. But of course,
but they've got something to lose.
Yeah, when they're drawing, they've got to score, right? So they have to possess the ball well. Whereas when they're winning, they don't have to possess the ball as well. And so they're like, well, let's prioritize the defensive structure. And I think that's a really interesting aspect of like, you almost have to continue playing as though you're, when people say it's 0-0 lads when you're playing Sunday League football,
it's always in that voice as well. That the person who does that,
0-0 lads, yeah. And I think that's the interesting thing for me is that actually in some of these games, maybe Arsenal do need to play like it's still 0-0 when they go up because they're actually losing control as a result of it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, I think another reason why they might be nervous is that we've seen on Friday the Champions League draw happen, and Arsenal are very much on a favourable side.
The Southgate bracket.
You'd look at that as an Arsenal fan and think, oh my God, we're going to win the Champions League, or we're definitely going to get to the final, or we're going to get really, really far. I'm sure people have seen this by now, but just to give you a flavour of the bracket, here's the other side. Here's the teams that are on the opposite side of the bracket. Chelsea are there, Liam. They're playing PSG in the round of 16. Galatasaray play Liverpool. Real Madrid play Man City in the most predictable game of all time. Atalanta play Bayern Munich. That's the other side. Now, Arsenal's side, Newcastle, Barcelona, a little bit tough there. Atletico Madrid, Tottenham. It's hard to know.
That will not go well.
Presumably Spurs are going to win the Champions League based on their form in that tournament so far. Bodo Glimt versus Sporting. incidentally, the winner of that game is the team that Arsenal, if they beat Leverkusen, who they're matched against, will meet in the quarterfinals. So you would have to assume that there is at least a very, very winnable route to the semi-finals, the most winnable route, I would say. And I think that that adds to
I think that
nerves.
creates pressure because it's also from like the mindset there is we should do this. People are going to laugh at us if we don't. If they somehow,
I think so. You think about I can't remember the run in that Man City had, but I remember the '99 run in for Manchester United on their way to the treble was Juventus in the semi-final, very difficult team, Bayern Munich in the final. So in no terms
Arsenal
were
in the semi-final of the FA Cup as well. Yeah.
So these tournaments weren't tournaments where in March you were looking at them and thinking, we're going to win that for sure, or we're going to get all the way through. I think that probably does create a little bit of pressure, doesn't it?
Isn't the point that Steve is making by including this that actually when we're considering the run-in that both teams have in the Premier League, City's is going to be necessarily tougher because, if Arsenal against Bayer Leverkusen, and then they're going to have Sporting or Bodo if they get through that game. Those are games where they can be presumably less stressed than if City get through, they're probably playing Bayern Munich. After having already played Real Madrid. So I think that there's an interesting aspect there in terms of if you consider City, the rest of City seasons as a whole across those competitions they're still in, they've probably got the tougher run of results to get anywhere. Right?
I think so. I mean, they've got a tough run in the Premier League.
Although having said that, City could just lose to Real Madrid and then be out, and then would they then become favourites for the Premier League?
Well, this is the first season, isn't it, that we've really seen the advantage that the new Champions League format affords to being the number one overall seed. Because last year, Liverpool were completely screwed over by PSG's weird arc, where they just didn't get it together until January and then was suddenly the best team in Europe by a mile.
How does it work? I don't understand the rules of the number one seed thing.
So they just get preferable opposition
in the knockout stage.
Yeah, and it's
in theory, but obviously Liverpool. Liverpool with the top seed.
As long as the seedings make sense underneath. But PSG were very much the spanner in that particular format last year.
That happened for City and Real Madrid as well, right? Because they both played in the playoff.
You can almost game the system if you're really, really clever, or if you're very, very lucky, and kind of sneak through as a high seed and then get the favourable draw on the other side. It's kind of the Southgate bracket.
So much disrespect for Gareth Southgate.
And for Bodo Glimt. Who,
of course.
I've seen theories that they are save scumming. That, that they're just saving just before each game, quitting and reloading
to the 1 in 100 chance of winning. Yeah, I mean, listen.
I nodded along and pretended to know what that meant.
It's a video game reference, Seb.
Seb's such an honourable person that he would never, if he knew, he would never save scum.
See, I play more Football Manager than eFootball.
Okay.
That's
there you go. Save scumming would be where if something bad happens, you quickly stop the game and then reload it at a previous autosave moment so that you can avoid the bad thing having happened.
Chelsea do that, but to make sure that they get a red card.
Or to make sure that their player goes out on loan to the correct team. Okay, fine. So Arsenal are going to win the Champions League then, we've decided? Decided?
I'm still taking Bayern.
You're still taking Bayern?
Yeah.
Bayern on the tough side of the draw.
That's what it is.
They're going to come through against Real Madrid or Man City in the next round?
Yeah, but it's the other side of the coin, right? Because they've got an 11-point lead in the Bundesliga. They can start winding down. They've got a Pokal semi-final in April. You can start rationing minutes and making sure everybody's available for European ties only. And that's no other club really in contention has the opportunity to do that, with the exception of, I know PSG should do, but they don't because they don't have a massive advantage.
And they've got a couple of key injuries now.
Exactly that.
Well.
So
PSG also had a really tough route to the final last time round. So there's an argument to be made that actually a tough route to the final. Obviously, you've got to win those games, but it can set you up quite well, I think, for the final.
Who do you think they will win?
Yeah, I think it will be an Arsenal-Bayern final. And I'm not going to say anything beyond that because anything can happen in the game.
That's exciting. What do you think, Nick?
It would be quite funny if Chelsea won, but I don't think
it's the kind of thing that Chelsea do.
It's the first thing I thought when I saw the bracket was like, oh, Chelsea are going to beat Arsenal in the final.
I do think they can beat PSG over 2 legs. Weirdly, I think they've got better chance of doing that than if they played Newcastle.
Right.
Just because of the way that they struggle against physicality, which Newcastle bring and PSG don't really. And there may be a little bit of a psychological edge from the club.
I think when you're in an Arsenal situation, you never want to play another team for your own country because it's such a
because
one-off.
they know,
right? Yeah, exactly.
It's like a leaving the town you grew up in, moving to a city, turning into a new person, then going home and meeting people from school again.
Right.
Like
That's not your accent.
They know who you really are.
There's a possibility of 4 English teams in the semis, right? Which is, I think, probably not good.
I don't think it's going to happen.
It's probably not going to happen.
I mean, it's not. Chelsea, Liverpool on that side could easily both get through their games. City then could get to the semi-final against one of those 2 teams. Newcastle probably aren't going to get past Barcelona. Spurs probably aren't going to get past Atletico. So that's
probably not. No.
Those are the 2 ones where it's a little bit more open, right? But
Newcastle Barcelona, I think, is one of the more interesting games though in the round of 16. I'm not so certain about calling that. I think that's hard.
No, I agree. Certainly at the moment with Barcelona and the way that Newcastle play, I think there's a possibility. But
Newcastle can struggle to create, but it's a lot easier to create when the other team gives you the half of the pitch to attack.
They're going to play a high line and say,
that's true.
Go ahead. Yeah.
And also, like Spurs or Atletico Spurs. I honestly feel like Spurs are going to win that tie.
No.
I think they're going to continue to lose in the Premier League. We haven't talked about them today, by the way. Incidentally, we were going to because. I think everyone's social media yesterday was flooded with like short clips of inexplicably out of context Spurs moments. The one where Vicario just kicks the ball out.
The Premier League official Twitter account, not the one.
They should be worrying about the state of set-piece football, not sharing.
The Premier League put it out on their official account and then had to delete it.
Yeah, man, that's so rude.
Ridiculous.
Hey, look at this shit part of our product.
But what are you thinking? Like, it's kind of like, what is the thought process there where you think, so what's the best possible outcome of us doing this? And it's kind of like, banter, baiting,
this will be funny.
Engagements. Everyone will see the funny side of this.
It's true, it is funny though.
It was gone by 10 o'clock on Monday morning.
I like the idea that it survived one shift and then the next manager starting was like, no.
We're going to examine some of the processes that went on during
the night shift. Yeah, the night shift. We're like, it'll be fine.
That is not on. That is absolutely not on.
Well, I think many podcasts today will be. Hopefully, this is one where Spurs fans will feel welcome because every other one I've listened to so far is about how they're going to get relegated.
Maybe come on as a punishment. So no,
okay, fine.
Do you think Spurs are going to get relegated?
No,
surely not.
Of course not.
Liam's.
I think people are underestimating. I think people are still being a little bit complacent about this. I'm 8 out of 10 afraid of it.
I think there's a real chance.
There's a real chance.
And I've said this recently. I do think that the bottom of the table has been shaping up for the ultimate Nuno choose your own adventure revenge arc.
Yeah.
Like which former club would you rather relegate? And West Ham are playing the best of those teams.
I agree.
They're just in the deepest hole and have probably the toughest fixtures. But, I half thought they could get something off Liverpool. As it was, Liverpool overwhelmed them.
Yeah. I think Forest are going down. I think the thing with Spurs is you look at their run-in, you look at where they need to accrue points. You also like think about the minimum number of points you probably need in order to be safe. I think if Spurs get 1 win and 2 draws, they're fine, and I think they'll do that in 10 games.
I agree about being safe with that amount of points, but that team has no virtues whatsoever. It has no strengths. They do nothing well. I don't think there are very many players in that group who have really bought into the struggle of this. Maybe Richarlison, a couple of the younger guys, Archie Gray, but it's very listless, and I think people are still underappreciating just how bad they are.
I saw someone tweet this morning that Richarlison is the greatest pick the ball out the net striker of all time.
He gets yellow cards most of the time when he does it as well, doesn't he?
They've also still, there's no one on the way back. Like the big kind of, one of the reasons for Johan Lange not panicking in January was because injury situation's going to resolve itself really quickly, and not at all.
I just think they just need to get a lucky win, and they'll get a lucky win. Maybe
who do you see them beating though?
I agree with you. I think that they are very bad, and I think it's easy to be complacent against a team like Spurs. But I just think that because they've got the head start on points.
We did this last night, though, didn't we? Because we talked about this last night with our Spurs friend. So next up, Palace is a game I can see them definitely dropping points in. Palace were pretty good against United. I thought
Liverpool
this weekend.
get hammered.
they've got Liverpool sandwiched between those two Atleti ties, which is, I don't know which one of those you prioritise.
I think you have to just throw the Champions League games.
Yeah.
I think you have to be, you can't use that word, of course, but I think you have to be
true.
practical about it.
The biggest one, we referred to this earlier, is on the 22nd of March.
That Forest.
Spurs play Forest. At which point, because I've looked at Forest's fixtures as well, I still think Spurs will be ahead of Forest in the table, even if they haven't picked up a point. But if they lose that game, then you're looking at Sunderland, Brighton, Wolves, Villa, Leeds, Chelsea, Everton. I think you get a win out of those games. I
don't agree.
So do you think they're going to be relegated?
No, I think they'll probably be saved by the teams below them not picking up enough points. But
Forest or West Ham?
I agree with Liam. I think West Ham are better than either of those two teams. I think it'll be between Forest and Spurs. I think West Ham will get themselves out of it as long as they don't pick up an injury or two. I think they'll be okay. They're playing very well.
So we all agree it's a possibility, but no one here actually thinks Spurs are going to get relegated.
No, I can see it.
No, but you don't think they're going to.
It's a very real possibility. And the reason they're in this situation is because I don't think enough people at the club thought it was a real enough possibility back in January, because they were still sort of future planning when really the mission was to get some bodies in, shore up the team, and then go again in the summer and take the financial hit of having to do that business in January. Yeah. Where it's all kind of, well, we're not going to buy players for the short term. It's like, no, that's exactly what you should be doing right now.
I think as well they were complacent about the impact of like letting bad managerial tenures run on. Yeah. I think that there was just too much of a sense, it will eventually come good, or it won't be a bad thing. And I think you can get too deep in those sorts of tenures where it then becomes impossible to change the momentum in a positive way.
Yeah, you left it far too long. Far too long. They should have made changes before Christmas, and they didn't. So
okay, well, listen, we've got to play points are bad now.
Exciting.
Maybe we'll have a little Spurs game. Who knows, right? Now, incredibly, and also amazing because he's not here. He's not here today. He's on the Wednesday show this week. JJ got a perfect round. The games we picked, of course, you'll remember, were Arsenal Chelsea, for which he predicted 2-1. And Rangers Celtic, for which he predicted 2-2.
Famously, JJ has great foresight.
Incredibly good foresight. Well, this week it's true. So he finished the week on 0 points added. Kaya had a great week with 2. John, you and me on the 1-1 bot all added 3 together. And then Ruben sadly got barkered. I don't know if you remember that.
I mean, I haven't made a pick.
Oh, yeah.
In points are bad for about 3 months,
You've been doing quite well.
Oh, good. Good to hear.
Ruben got barkered last week because he's been doing a little bit too well. So that means he added 7 points. Don't worry about what that is, Liam. You'll get to play today as someone, though. And that means that the overall scores were JJ in last place on 126, me in second last on 110, John, you're on 104, shared with Ruben on 104, just behind Kaya, who's on 102, and the 1-1 bot, of course, is on 81, flying ahead. However, things have taken a complicated turn, haven't they, Steve Hankey? Haven't they taken a turn?
It's quite fitting that we've spoken about correct due process in today's show.
Now, thankfully, because of the Tifo Football Discord, which listeners or viewers can join by clicking the link in the description, come and join a fabulous community of pedants and correctors. One of whom, Get Miloa Life from the Discord, has updated the totals by going back through every single individual episode and realizing that Steve is only human after all. Who'd have thought it? So with game week 28 added, the difference is now the worst one you have is a Ruben difference, because
Ruben's
Ruben
really had a bad week of barkering, and then
unfortunately he's been barkered and he's been Get Miloa Life as well. Ruben should have had 3 additional points, 3 bad points over the course of the season, which he didn't have. So that means that we've adjusted his total to 107. I should have had 2 extra, as you should have, John. Also, Kaya, that's losing a point. Yeah. He's getting rid of a bad point. He's way further out ahead now. 101. John, you're now in second on 106. So there's a 5-point gap to make up on the tall, lanky bastard. Huh? Let's get him. Right. Maybe he deserves a barkering at some point. It's the kind of natural.
He hasn't been barkered, right?
Has he never been barkered?
I don't think so.
Wow. And he would be Barker's most vociferous target, I imagine. How about that? Okay, fine. Well, today, John, you can play as yourself.
Can I play as Kaya?
No, Seb, we'll have you play as Kaya. Okay, please don't bark at him. If it's okay, Liam, you'll play as Ruben.
Okay.
And then I'll play as me. And Seb, you can play as JJ. Yep, Steve, that's your name.
Is there anything I need to know about? Does Ruben have a playing philosophy that I have to adhere to?
He tries to pick what the result will be. That's it. That's all it is, right? It does mean that the person who gathered the most points last week, of course, was Ruben. It was you. So you get to pick 2 fixtures for us, and we can keep it simple and pick them from the Premier League, the upcoming fixtures.
We've got midweek this week, haven't we?
We've got midweek this week, have we?
Yeah, Wednesday.
Okay, fine. Well, we probably should, or we could pick one of those. Why don't we pick one from the midweek?
And then FA Cup at the weekend.
And then it's FA. Oh, yeah, let's pick 2 from the midweek then. So, who are Spurs are playing Palace on Thursday. I think that's got to be one of them, if you agree.
Okay.
But then you pick the other.
So Spurs, Palace, and Brighton, Arsenal.
Brighton, Arsenal on Wednesday. Okay, so those are the 2 games. We'll start with Brighton, Arsenal, and then we'll do Spurs, Palace. Right, you also get to pick first, Liam, because Ruben lost last week. So with Brighton, Arsenal, what do you think the scoreline will be?
1-1.
You can't pick that, unfortunately, because the 1-1 bot claims that every week.
Every week.
That's because it's the best score to pick, mathematically in this
All
game.
right, I will go for...
But I like the idea that you think Arsenal aren't going to come through that with all points.
I'll go for 2-2 then.
2-2. Okay, there we go. Right, and then the next one, Spurs, Palace.
I think 1-0 Palace.
Yeah, I think that's probably pretty fair. Okay, next up to pick is me. So for Brighton, Arsenal, I will say 0-2 Arsenal. And for Spurs, Palace, I think it might be 1-2. Yeah, 2-1 to Palace. John, you are next to pick.
I'll go 1-2 Arsenal, and I will go 2-1 Spurs.
You think Spurs are going to win that game?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. How about that? Next up is Kaya. You're playing as Kaya, Seb?
I'll go 3-1 Arsenal
3-1 Arsenal.
and 3-1 Palace.
Okay, well, how about that? And then Steve? Fine.
What a weird mental tick that is.
Just because it's an S.
Well, there's some characters, you know.
All good. Brighton, Arsenal. We've had 2-0 Arsenal. We've had 2-1 Arsenal. We've had 2-2.
Don't you mean the Arsenal?
The Arsenal. Brighton and the Hove Albion. Against the Arsenal. Oh, man. 3-2 to the Arsenal.
Mm-hmm.
3-2. Wow.
3-2
And then you've
to
got
the
Spurs,
Arsenal.
Palace.
Spurs, Palace. I think that Palace will win that 2-0.
I can't believe no one said 1-0 Arsenal. That feels like the most
Oh,
Arsenal result available.
Yeah.
Yeah. But fine, that's okay. What did you say for Spurs, Palace?
I think Palace will win that 2-0.
2-0. Okay, how about that? Right, there we go. That was all. Thanks to Liam Twomey.
Peacocks.
Seb Stafford-Bloor. Yeah? Just a point, yeah. Jon Mackenzie.
Thanks.
And Steve Hankey was also here.
Thank you.
We'll be back on Wednesday or Thursday.
Thursday.
Thursday with JJ and with
Ruben and Jack Pitbrook.
Oh, and Jack Pitbrook. Join us then.